So the people have spoken, and it sounds like a lot of people are interested in watching a tutorial on how to do serged cloth pads. So what I'm using for this tutorial today is the Happy Hippos 12-inch curvy. Her curvy patterns, that's including the curvy front bleeder, and I think she has a mega flare and a wide width and a standard width. She has several different variations of the pattern. That whole line specifically was designed to be serged, so you can turn and top stitch, but it is perfect for serging. It is a pattern that you serge on the line. It doesn't have a seam allowance. You'll see here that I'm using a template plastic pattern. So what I did with that, and I'll just go over that really quick in case you'd like to do the same as well, is I just printed out the pattern. This is a different pattern, so sorry if that confuses anybody. It's just the only one I have on paper right now. I printed out the pattern, taped it together the way I'm supposed to, and then I took my big sheet of template plastic, and I believe some people use cutting mats from like Dollar General or Dollar Tree. I'm not sure which one. I'm sure somebody will know and chime in. I guess they sell flimsy like cutting mats, and they work really well supposedly for patterns. So I just take my paper pattern, I would slide it under my template plastic, transfer all my markings, and then cut it out. It's that simple. It's pretty straightforward. So you can see that I have a piece with the full pattern, nothing cut out, nothing marked on there other than my snap placements. Then I have one that is an exposed core placement. So pretty much I use this one just for laying on the pattern and marking where I want my exposed core to go, so I can make sure that it's even all the way around. And then I have my core piece. So this is the core piece for both a hidden core and an exposed core. So either way, you're using the same piece. And I think one of the things that interests people so much with a pattern like this is, for starters, it's fast, it's easy, it's much quicker than turning and top stitching, especially doing an exposed core. It's much quicker. It comes out extremely trim, and this is using fleece and cotton lycra, very thin. And it's kind of, I think, aesthetically pleasing as well. The reason a lot of people don't attempt them so often is because these deep curves that you have are kind of more of an advanced thing to do on a serger. It's not something you can bust it out of the box and nail these the first time. I mean, if you can, that's awesome, but most normal people can't. So it is something that takes practice, and so hopefully by me showing you how I do it and walking you through this step by step, you'll kind of have a better feel for how to go about those deep curves. And I can show you some techniques for getting a better curve, even the outside curves, going from a deep inside curve to a broad outside curve. That can be challenging as well. So hopefully me doing this video for you will show you how to get those inside curves to outside curves flush without any of your loopers hanging off. And like I said, this is just a really quick method to do it. These probably take me about 15 minutes from start to finish. So the first thing you're going to want to do, besides, have a pattern, is pick out your fabric, pick your backing fabric. So I don't know if there's like a technical or a specific name for this. I usually call it like a base or a wrapping, W-R-A-P-P-I-N-G fabric. What I mean by that is this outer space print you see around the whole thing. It's the part that, wraps around, so I call it a wrap or the wrapping. Anyway, so pick your base fabric, your wrapping fabric. That's going to be this main fabric here. We're not working on the exposed core yet. We're just going to work on this wrap stuff, whatever you want to call it. So what you're going to want to do with either your template plastic pattern or your paper pattern is place it on your fabric. You're going to mark all the way around. And like I said earlier, this is a serge on the line pattern. There's no seam allowance. You're going to serge on the line that you're marking right now. So I'll mark all the way around, I'll transfer my snap placements, and then I cut about a 1/2 inch outside. So this is what that looks like. You can see my line where I marked all the way around, and you can see that I cut about a 1/2 inch or so, just a rough 1/2 inch, doesn't need to be exact, all the way around my serge on line. And the reason I do that is because I do this entire thing with my blade engaged, and when I have fabric that I can cut off, instead of trying to get my loopers perfectly over that edge, I have fabric I can cut off. This gives me just a little bit of room to make a mistake, I guess you could say. So if I had it cut, say right here around this curve, but I miss just a little bit and I don't nail that curve, my loopers are gonna hang off. But since I have this extra fabric, if I go just a tiny bit outside this line, it's gonna be fine and nobody's gonna notice because I'm still gonna have this excess fabric here, which the loopers will then cover. So I highly recommend giving yourself about a 1/2 inch or so of extra room around your line to cut on. Next, what you're gonna do, and now you're gonna see the beauty of template plastic, is cut out your exposed core. So with this template plastic, I can see exactly what I want to cut. So I can see through this. If it was paper, I wouldn't be able to see through it, obviously. So now I can see, I can get my characters lined up exactly how I want them, make sure they're straight instead of just guessing. So it takes the guesswork out of pattern placement. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to mark around this, cut it out about a 1/2 inch around my cut line. So the last step for your exposed core is going to be applying the topper that you have to the absorbent fabric that you're choosing to use. I'm using Zorb for this, so I'm going to take my cute topper, and if you've watched literally any of my other videos, you'll know that I have, well, maybe like an unhealthy obsession with 505 temporary basting spray. Just a quick spray. Place that on my scrap that I'm using. Then I'm just going to cut my absorbent fabric down to the same size as my topper. So same thing, I still want to have a little bit of room all the way around the line I'm going to serge on. And these patterns are awesome scrap busters. I get to use so many scraps for these, and they come in so many different sizes, down to like 6 inches and up to 16 inches. It's crazy. So now I have my absorbent backing, my cute topper, and if you don't have 505 pins, just pin it together, cut it out, same thing. And I kind of think that 505 maybe should start paying me, because I wonder how much money I've given them just from telling people they have to buy this or their life's going to be terrible. You should buy it. I mean, I'm not saying that you need it, but you really should. I'm not joking. You should buy this. And if 505 ODIF, if you want to, work out some kind of deal for me promoting you all the time, I'm down with that. I'll even take free 505. Like, I'm a little bit of an addict. I mean, I would sorry about that. I have a little bit of an unhealthy obsession with 505. So sometimes I just have to take a step away, take a deep breath, and quit talking about 505 for just a second. So, now that I got that out of my system, you'll see why I have this nifty little piece with a cutout. I'm going to take my wrapping fabric and kind of just lay this on there, line the lines up. And now I see, oh, okay, that right there is where I want my core to lay. So sometimes what I'll do at this point is I'll lightly mark some points just to show me the inside of where I want my core to go. I want my core to fall inside these lines. So I just give myself a basic point not to put the core past. You can see I want my core to hit about there. about there, about there, about there. And this is totally optional. You can skip it if you feel like you can just slap your core on and it looks pretty good. That's fine. So now that I've got all of that done, the next step is to take the core and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to serge right on that line. So I thought first we would just start with a quick discussion of the threads I'm using. I'm going to be using black threads on top because it contrasts my fabric choice, so you guys will be able to see more clearly what I'm doing. So here I'm using black thread in my left and right needle. Then I'm using black thread in my upper looper and white thread in my lower looper. The reason I'm choosing to use white thread in my lower looper is because the bottom fabric, my water resistant fabric that I'm using, is white. So if you're using like a red polar fleece or something like that, you might want your lower looper thread to match that so it will blend with the back. So I'm using white because my Wind Pro fleece that I'm using as the water resistant layer is white. I'm using black in my upper looper. That's going to be the thread that's most visible on top. And my left and right needles are also going to be black just to blend with my looper. So first we're going to start off serging that exposed core piece that we had just cut out. I'm starting at the widest end, so this is the widest part of my exposed core, then it just narrows out from there. So my first step, I do this with my blade engaged, so I have my blade on. This whole tutorial my blade's going to be engaged. I'm never going to disengage it. So my first step is I'm aiming to hit about the middle point with my blade right here. So as soon as I get to the middle point, about right here, that's where I want my blade to finally hit my exposed core marking that I have on here. So that's about halfway and my blade's now cutting that part off. Now that we're at a big outside curve here, the trick with outside curves is to push the fabric into your blade. I know once you first start with a serger, it can be kind of confusing because you don't have any negative space on this side of your machine. So it kind of feels like you can't push the fabric in that direction. But the trick here is to just continue to push it, let the machine pull it out backwards, but you continue to push into the blade. So just go slow as you need to, and push it. And it feels a little counterintuitive sometimes because you feel like you're forcing the fabric into the blade, but that's what you want to be doing. You want to be pushing that fabric as best you can into the blade. The best advice I ever got was to completely ignore the needles. Some people say the opposite and they say to ignore the blade. I totally disagree. Ignore the needles, forget that the needles are even there, and just concentrate on where your blade is going. So now we're kind of at just a little bit of an inside curve. And the trick with inside curves, and you're going to see this a little more when we do the full piece, is to eliminate a curve. Remember that a serger, it can't serge a curve, it can only serge straight. So eliminate the curves, and by bunching it up over here on the left, bunching your fabric, you kind of straighten out an inside curve, and again, you'll see this better with the full wrap that we do later. So just straighten out this inside curve right here, and just keep going. So this, once again, it's just a tiny bit of an inside curve right here. Just eliminate that by bunching on the left side. And now we're at a tighter outside curve coming up. And those are a little bit more tricky, especially once you get to like the front flare kind of patterns. The back of the patterns have a really tight, really narrow outside curve. So those are pretty difficult. But again, it's just going slow and making sure you're pushing that fabric into the blade. And it does feel kind of scary at first because you feel like you're going to be moving, you're on your needles too much, you're going to be moving your fabric too far away from the needles, but as soon as you start to get comfortable with pushing into the blade, you'll start to realize when it's too much force, when it's the right amount of force. So here we are at just a little bit of an inside curve. So I'm going to bunch up on the left again and straighten this out. And then once I get to my curve, I'm just going to let everything relax again. And we're going back to an outside curve. So push in. Once we get to the end, a lot of people prefer to disengage their blades right here. I actually don't. I prefer to keep mine on. And I don't know if you can see it. Right here's my purple line that I had marked earlier. So this is the line that I want to cut on still. I can still see that very well. So I'm going to keep my blade right on that line. And so I just now cut it off. So I don't know if you saw that, but it just now fell away. This fell off. And what I'm going to do here is just go straight. I don't want to keep curving anymore, or I'm going to start to cut the stuff that I had serged previously. So at this point, I'm just going to go straight off of it. So you can see that's what that looks like. And now I'll show you what I do with my serger tails at this point. What a lot of people will do with their serger tails, this little tail that hangs off the end here, some people will thread this through like a darning needle, a nice big needle with a big eye. They'll thread this tail through, and then they'll thread the needle back through the loopers and leave it, and leave the chain. Other people, sometimes they'll cut it off at about 1 inch, pull all the threads apart separately, tie them in a knot. I know other people that do the same thing and then they burn it with a lighter because it's polyester and it will melt. There's a lot of different ways that you can successfully hide your thread tail and your thread tail for a serger. So I'm just going to show you the way that I prefer to do it, and I've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years now, and it's worked out really well for me. I've never had any complications arise with it. So what I do is I find my upper looper fabric. So I know from previously that my upper looper fabric is black. So just outside of where I ended, I'm going to grab my upper looper and I'm just going to pull on it slightly. So what that did when I pulled on it was it just flattened this chain right here a little bit. So if I pull on it again, I don't know if you'll be able to see, it just tightens my looper so that where I came off is nice and flat. What I do next is I just grab this whole chain and I pull it back. So this is what it's going to look like. So on my back side, I have the chain coming down here. So all I do at this point, and for me it's simple because I have my sewing machine set up right next to my serger. Everything is, 24 inches away from each other. So all I do at this point is a quick straight stitch across my serger chain, my serger tail. So I make sure I'm pulling it nice and tight. And so I did it in pink so you guys could see what it looks like on the front. So it's not even, well, I mean, if you did it in a matching color and didn't do it in pink, it's not even very noticeable. So it's just a couple stitches back and forth. Then I trim them like I would trim any other sewing machine back stitch. And then I flip it around to the back and I pretty much just do the same thing. Just trim it right down. And yeah, I do trim that serger tail right underneath, just right underneath my back stitch on my sewing machine. A lot of people have asked me, well, doesn't it come out over time? Well, I don't know, maybe, but over the years I've done it, and I've got some clothes that my kids have passed down from my older son to my younger son over several years, and I've never had any of this ever come apart. So for me, it's working out pretty well. So that's it. That's all I do to finish my serger tail. That's all I've ever done, and it's worked out really nicely for me, but feel free to do whatever works best for you. So to sew on the exposed core, I just use a standard length straight stitch. I don't do anything fancy. I guess seam allowance is going to be a personal preference. What I do, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this, is my standard foot right here has a clear plastic front, so I line my finished edge up with the edge of that clear plastic part. It's probably like 1/8 of an inch or so. I get really close to stitching right on my right needle from my serger. It doesn't hit it, but it gets pretty close, and that's just what works for me. You may prefer to go closer to the edge of your exposed core or further away, whatever works. You might want to do something decorative or zigzag, I don't know. This is what I do, and this is what works for me. So I just go around once. I make sure that I backstitch at the end. I never backstitch at the beginning, but maybe you shouldn't take my advice on that. I don't know. It just works for me. And I did choose to use pins here. Believe it or not, I can use pins. So I'm just about back to where I started. All I do at this point is I grab my thread tail from where I started, kind of position that out of the way, and then I just backstitch right there. And I make sure that I catch my, where I started my stitch and go over that. That's why I feel comfortable not backstitching in the beginning, because I make sure I catch it in the end. So again, just personal preference with that. Trim everything up. Trim them off on the back as well. And now you'll have something that looks like this, more or less. So you can see that I still have a nice wide gap around the exposed core that I can fit easily around this with my serger to serge on this line, and I'm not going to have any problem clearing the exposed core. Sometimes if you get too close to the exposed core, you're going to hit your foot, and that's going to bump your loopers away, and you'll get a little bit of a mess. So with this, we have tons of room here to get our foot around that nicely, so that shouldn't be an issue at all. So at this point, the only thing that is left as far as fabrics is to adhere your backing. Personal preference for what you want to use for this. I'm using 9509 WinPro. It's a hard face WinPro. This is personally my favorite thing to use. It's super, super thin, and it's extremely water resistant. This stuff is really awesome. It is probably overkill, to be honest. A lot of people will just use polar fleece or anti-pill fleece that they've found in blankets or in the remnant bin at Joann. Whatever works, whatever you have. Some people use polyurethane laminate. I've heard of people using corduroy successfully. So whatever you have, whatever you like, whatever works for you, go ahead and use that. And I'm actually going to use pins right now and be a little bit of a heathen and show you that it is possible to use pins, and I do know how pins work. So all you're going to do is pin your top piece, now that you've stitched the exposed core down, onto your water resistant backing. So if you're making a liner, you might not even use a water resistant backing. A lot of people will just use like a flannel for a backing on liners because they don't need the water resistance, since liners sometimes for people are more like sneeze guards and stuff like that. If you've had babies and you've sneezed since you've had your babies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So you may or may not want to use a water resistant backing. That's up to you. So once you have everything pinned down or sprayed down or basted, whatever you want to do, just cut it out. So you cut your backing down to about the same size that you have your pad cut out to. Again, you want to leave a nice wide seam allowance around your cut line. And sometimes what I'll do is where I've got way more than I have way more than a half inch extra here. Sometimes my serger doesn't enjoy cutting that off because it's too much, so sometimes I will go and I'll trim that down a little closer to a half inch. So if you notice that you have big gaps, seam allowances, I guess you could call them, it's not really a seam allowance, but we can refer to it as that. You can go and cut them down. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. I do it all the time. And I'll actually usually do that while I'm cutting my backing off and just save myself a little bit of time. So now that you have this all together, the last step as far as sewing is to get this to the serger and get it through. So this is where things really get interesting. Now you have to go deep inside curve to deep outside curve. So for those that are newer to the art of serging, this can be pretty difficult. Don't expect to follow this tutorial, do one, and bang out a perfect one, especially if you're brand new to serging. This is going to take some time. I wish that I could tell you how to do this and you're going to get it done perfectly, but that's just not going to happen. This is something that you have to practice. If you have scraps, cut like a curvy zigzag into some scraps and work on doing that. So my first thing that I'm going to do here, it's going to be really similar to what I did with the exposed core part. I'm going to start at my widest part, so I'm starting at the bottom, and I want my blade to hit my cut line about halfway, so the same spot that we did that on the exposed core. So that point is when I want my blade to finally touch my line. And we're on the line now. Took out my pin, and now you're going to go into a wide outside curve at this point. So remember, see how we have nice bit of room here for the foot to go around? That's not going to be an issue. So remember to push into your blade. So now we're going to get to an inside curve. And if you remember what we're supposed to do at this point, there we go, is eliminate the inside curve. I know it's hard to see because my my green fabric marker is blending in with my star, but I've got a curve right here. I'm just going to eliminate it by bunching up my fabric with my left hand and making this a straight line. Especially if you're using knits, cotton lycra, this is really easy. If you're a beginner and you're trying to do this with woven, it's going to be more challenging. Or even if you're using polyurethane laminate on the back, it's going to be more challenging. So if you're using stuff with some stretch, this is going to be much, much easier. So I'm eliminating that curve right now and pushing it through. And now we're going to start, it's still a little bit of an inside curve, but we're going to start to go back outward. So just pivot that, making sure you're still pushing your fabric up against your blade. As soon as you gap away from your blade, your fabric gaps away from your blade, you're going to get loopers hanging off the edge. So it's a little counterintuitive, but make sure your fabric is staying flush to your blade, that you're pushing it in, but you're also eliminating that inside curve. So now we're going back to an outside curve, same thing, push into the blade. I might bump the camera in. I'm like 2 feet back from my serger and everything's getting caught on my camera, so this is, you might get a little motion sick, I'm sorry. Back to an inside curve, same thing, eliminate the curve, and I'm gonna try to go really slowly right now. Sometimes I push down too fast and that doesn't happen, but I'm gonna try to go slow and show you in more detail what exactly I'm doing. So I'm straightening it out. Straightening it out. Now I'm back to an outside curve. So now, same thing, we're about to end this. I can still just barely see my fabric marking point that I want to cut on. I don't know if you can tell at all, it's going right through here. Same exact thing. I'm going to keep my blade on that, and I'm going to let my blade fall straight off of that point. So there we are, I've got it cut off. Same thing. Now at this point, just go straight forward. Okay. Nope, that's the wrong way. So now we've got the same thing. I'm just gonna finish this serger tail off the exact same way I did with the other one. I'm gonna pull on my top looper. I'm just gonna do it right here to show you. I'm gonna pull my top looper, and you'll see this flatten this time, and it flattens right there. Now I'm gonna pull it back to the back, and I'm gonna sew across it, and it's gonna be done. So this is the last step, and I really debated whether or not I should do this because it's so messy over here right now, but I'm gonna do it because I'm a baller and I don't care. The last step is to put your snaps on the wings. Hopefully they'll be visible and you should see your snap placement points exactly where you want them. So on the side with one, you're going to do a stud facing down. On the side with two, you'll do 2 sockets facing up. Some people will do 2 studs facing up. You can do that. I just recommend to not do it that way because the stud that is not covered, if there is one, could press into the thigh of the person wearing it. It could just be a little bit uncomfortable. So I do recommend to use sockets here as opposed to studs. So now I've got the sockets that I'm choosing to use all set up. Oops. A lot of people ask at this point, why do you have 2 different presses? Part lazy, part convenience. It's really, really hard for me to get my my die socket into my other press for some reason, so I just bought a second one and now I don't ever have to swap them out. So that's it. Now you'll see you have 2 sockets and 1 stud that's facing out. And that's it. You're finished. We're good to go. So you've got your back side with that lower looper that blends in. Your needle thread might stand out, but your lower looper blends in. And hopefully your inside curves will be nice and tight with no loopers hanging over. Gosh, hopefully mine will be nice and tight with no loopers hanging over because that would be awkward. And your exposed core is stitched on. And there you have it. That is how you serge an exposed core pad. And again, I'm using the Happy Hippos patterns for these.